What up, peeps, and welcome back to At the Table, where we discuss the most pressing and relevant topics of today around good food. Today we sit down with Cole from the hit Netflix show Love is Blind. Jesse and I wanted to have some bro talk or barbershop talk and pick his brain on representation in the media, identity, mental health, and how to juggle all of this with the eyes of the world on you. Many of us may see glimpses of ourselves in his story of merely just trying to figure out this thing called life. Enjoy. All right. Well, Cole, thank you so much for being here, man. This is really, really special for us because I started watching the Love is Blind series during COVID like everybody else. Mm-hmm. And then I stopped watching it after season 2 because I was like, oh, this is just a little bit too much drama for me. And it was just, I thought it was a train wreck in many ways.
Definitely
there were lots of,
sure.
there are a lot of isms in there that were going on. And so it wasn't until Jesse said, oh, I know somebody on this season 3. So I'm like,
small world.
Reluctantly, let me go ahead and tune in. Oh, it was great. Yeah. It was just as good as the first season. So, wow. Jesse, is that pretty accurate? I thought it was.
I was the same boat,
better.
like where I feel like we watched the first season around the same time, talked about it. Second season I didn't care for, but then my sister was like, "Hey, somebody that you know is on the third season. It's in Dallas." I was like, "Really? Who would I know that's gonna be on?"
Yeah.
Cole, I was like, "No way! What, Cole? No way!"
That's what I felt like whenever y'all reached out to me for this. I was like, "Wait, Jesse's on this big podcast?" So it's funny.
That is so cool, man. Yeah. Well, thank you for accepting the invite. I know that your schedule is probably really crazy post-show, so thanks for taking the time out. Absolutely. So for those who are listening to this, we're having good old Texas tri-tip chili.
That's right.
This is as close to the original type of recipe. So there's no like tomatoes. There's like 10 different peppers and spices in there, maybe more than that.
Mm-hmm. Is it super spicy?
It's not hot.
Okay.
It's spicy in terms of. All right, we'll get the first bite. Let's see. Oh, did he almost throw it out?
Coughing.
No, that was a lot of pressure. Oh, it's good. Oh, wow.
Pretty good,
dude. How did you learn to do that?
Desperation and just like cooking. Just I just become fascinated with like cooking chili because I feel like it's therapeutic because there's so many things, and then it's our state dish.
Yeah.
So you got to have a good chili recipe.
I did a chili cook-off thing the other day. I didn't cook for it, but I was a taste tester for it, and I'm pretty upset that yours wasn't there because this would have taken the cake, man.
You would have cleaned up.
That.
Yeah.
And then Jesse did some tasting beforehand. Mm-hmm. We want to have like bro talk, some man talk today. So Jesse, you picked out the Shibu Japanese whiskey.
I did.
Let's do this is our first time doing a pre-pod toast.
That's true.
All right, let's do a pre-pod toast.
We get to pregame for a...
Yeah, we got because it's cold. We got a pregame. We know that. All right. Cheers.
Cheers, fellas.
All right. All right. So that's so good.
I wasn't sure if y'all were fixing to take the whole thing
or
if it was. I was like
sipping with
it felt like a shot, and I have done that before. I've done that before with 1942. Like my friends bought me 1942. I didn't realize it, and I was like, "All right, cheers!" And I took the whole thing, and they were like, "Dude, you're supposed to like slow sip it." Like that was really expensive. I was like, "Well, it's good either way." So.
Well, I enjoyed it, right?
Yeah, but I learned my lesson. So.
Cool. Thank you for sipping it because I would have died a little bit inside.
Because this is also
it's a really good bottle.
Yes,
yeah, it's a really good bottle of whiskey. And Japanese whiskey, just FYI for people that want to know, but it's been like for the past 3 to 5 years, it's been the best whiskey in the world. Japanese whiskey has been
really
rated. Yeah,
interesting.
Okay,
so I didn't know that either.
That's cool.
I didn't know. Mm-hmm. But, okay. So what we thought we'd do is we'd start out with some rapid fire. So we went to social media. Mm-hmm. We didn't tell them that you were going to be on, but we said we got a special guest coming. We're going to have bro talk. And women, what are some burning questions that you want to know from men? All right.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to try to keep this as brief as possible. So we're going to give everyone collectively 30 to 45 seconds to respond.
Okay.
All right.
So we're all answering it.
We're all in on this.
But mainly we're gonna look at you because you're the expert
You are the
now,
guest.
man. You are. You
that.
had to. You talked to multiple women through a wall, so you're kind of
I did learn some things. Yeah.
Here we go. Okay, what's a must-have wifey quality?
Sense of humor.
I said the same thing. Laughter.
Trust.
Trust.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like, a given.
Feel that like loyalty,
Yes.
kind of. Yeah.
Why do men lie about the dumbest stuff?
Because we're dumb.
That's true.
I don't know. I don't even know. Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna go with Jesse on this one because they're dumb. I don't know. I don't lie about dumb stuff. Like, I'm thinking of like some dude who's lying about like, no, I wasn't watching a football game or something.
Yeah.
Like I was whatever. Like I don't do that really. Like
Yeah, I feel like the question might be targeted more towards like maybe silly
Yeah.
things. Like why do you lie about like, I don't know.
Did you really go out with the boys or something like that?
Yeah.
I feel like maybe too there's pressure. Like if the woman is pretty combative, like I'll just say anything just to avoid a confrontation.
oh yes,
I feel like
that's
we do that.
definitely true.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just say it. Yeah, sure. I was out walking the dog.
Yeah, to avoid more questions.
Yes. Why do guys tend to shut down instead of expressing feelings?
Sometimes it just feels easier to not have to talk about it, to own what you did wrong maybe, or have some quick dialogue and just say, hey, like the day can go on, like we can move on from this.
I'd say like vulnerability.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they just don't want to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
That's true. That's a really big one. I know that for me. That's
Or
definitely true.
we might think we're being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because we've gone to maybe a different level than we did with the guys.
Yeah.
But then your girl might be wanting a different level, might be wanting more.
That's a really, really good
Right.
point because vulnerability to men looks different.
I feel like I've learned that in my marriage. Like, oh, okay, I thought I was being vulnerable, but there's something else that's required of me, and I have to like go to a different space, a different
That's really good.
level of authenticity.
I also kind of feel like it has to deal with the way that guys talk. We just kind of like problem solve. So once the issue is there, we're like, done.
That's true.
You're going to keep on talking about it. I thought we already solved this. I
Yeah,
thought I was
yeah.
wrong. So there's no feelings involved beyond that. Why do men often misunderstand what women are saying?
Probably because they don't say it how it makes sense. They say it the wrong way.
Preach.
Like for real, girls don't speak in full sentences. They're like, "So did you talk to him? Like, talk to who? Like, like they do that. Like, so I was talking to her, and then like she told me that. And I'm like, I'm like, did you even start somewhere? They just like jump into the middle of a statement. It's like you didn't even preface it with like anything normal that like dudes would say. We're like, yo, bro, the other day I went and did this with that guy. Like, we like, and they're just like,
It's a cohesive thought.
they just think we are reading their minds. Like
that right there. That right there. Women, if you're listening to this,
We can't do it.
we cannot.
We can't
We
do it.
are incapable. And your passive aggressiveness about that is only going to make things worse because it's like, I still don't get it.
Yep.
So why do men appear to listen but never retain any of what their partner conveys? I'm guilty of this a lot. Well, I'm sorry, like I have been in the past, but not with every single relationship. There's a certain there's got to be a period in like an end point. Like if I ask a question, having a dialogue, their answers tend to go on and on and on and on and on. And like you said, when you go to point A to point B to point Z to
Jumped
J,
around and you're lost.
and then but I'm still like, yeah. Please don't ask me any questions about it. But so that's why you usually get like, that's crazy.
There's some
It's almost
expectations there though too that like she might just have something totally in her mind that she wants to get across.
Yeah.
And since it's not being stated maybe super clear, super concise, it goes over our head, and then it's like another argument of, why aren't you listening to me? We just had a conversation. We're like, wait, we didn't talk about that. What?
Yeah, we should. Oh my God, story of my life. But I've learned now to kind of stop in the middle of the conversation and be like, okay, hold on, I'm sorry. So you said this and this went over here. All right, great. All right, now keep going.
Yeah.
And that seems to be appreciated.
Yeah, clarifying questions.
All right, this is the last one. I'm going to have Cole answer
All
this
right.
one for sure.
Hit
No,
me
go
with
ahead,
it.
man. Go ahead. What stops men from going to therapy?
I think we just don't think it'll help. I mean, like baseline, we're kind of like, I don't need that. It's not going to help me. Or I just don't want to go talk to somebody who's like someone I don't really look up to. Like most therapists, maybe it's like a middle-aged woman or something, and you just feel like there's not a lot of like relatability to me, right? If I'm a young man or any aged man, like a lot of therapists are women. So I think like guys realizing like, you know, just those things are the reasons why they don't go. But yeah, but those things aren't true. Like, you can get help, like you should, and like a lot of counselors, although they may be either gender, like they can relate to you.
That's
so,
good.
Yeah,
that's really good. Actually, yeah, because I found myself kind of judgy in the first couple, things with different therapists. I'm like, I don't know if I, trust so you really like understand where I'm coming from.
And a big part of therapy, I think too, is just you saying the things that you're never going to talk about.
That's true.
That's so it's
true.
like, I think it's important. Yeah.
Or being asked questions just by a professional that knows what to ask and how to ask it.
And guide you to your answer.
Yep.
That's why I really feel like the barbershop and the basketball court are so important. You have some of the best conversations, and literally, like sometimes it's just you saying something out loud, and your boy being like, "What? That's crazy, man!" And then you feel a little bit better,
right?
It's the validation, that like I'm not crazy. I'm saying this properly, Thank you for that. That was good, ladies. Thank you so much for the questions. I'm pretty sure if you have more,
that worked out okay.
Yeah, it worked out okay. It wasn't bad. I don't think that was painful. I know there are like tons more in the thing, but I just grabbed the first couple ones out there because I'm pretty sure they go down a rabbit hole. And if you have some more questions, you can happily slide into Cole's DMs.
I don't know if I'll get back to you. I've got a few thousand to get through first.
Oh my God.
Cannot imagine.
I bet it's trash over there.
Yeah, it's tough. I can't get through them all, honestly.
Yeah. You were just on probably the most successful reality show on the Netflix platform. And it's not just the US, but it's a global audience.
Right.
And by and large, your portrayal was curated by a whole bunch of editors, right? So is it fair to say that, the representation that we saw of you was through the lens of people that pieced together a story?
I think they do their best, though.
Okay.
I think they do a fair job of... They obviously want drama, so they're going to show your worst moments. Like,
right.
That's going to be shown when you say things that they know is going to really, cause a ruckus and get people speaking about it. They're going to show that. But then I feel like they also try to show your best moments. So to answer your question, yes, it's a very highly produced, highly edited version of yourself. So it's not accurate to a T, but it's also not like, oh, that's not me at all, right? Like some of the things that I've wanted to say, like, that's not me at all. I'm actually realizing, like, wait a second, that's me, and this is just a mirror that I couldn't see before. So it's like, you kind of have to own some of it. But then other parts of it, like when they do cut up certain parts of the show to totally change the narrative, then that's different. So
With that being said, because it has been crafted for entertainment purposes, I want to give you a second to tell the world, who is Cole? If you can talk about yourself in third person, what would you want the world to know about you?
I mean, the first thing that came to mind when you asked that is like, I think I'm a pretty normal guy, but I love doing different things.
Yeah.
So if that makes sense, like, I think I'm like all the other guys, but I'm also different because I like adventure, being outdoors, and I can be kind of weird or like out of the box, I guess. But I don't know. I'm someone who loves my family, loves my people, my friends. I'm a very hard worker. I think I am more driven than most people, and I also love God and want, like, I live for like a bigger purpose, or at least I hope to and try to and strive to. So
I can attest to a lot of that. For people listening, they may not know, but I've known Cole for a while. We haven't been super close or anything like that, but I've been around him enough to see that he has a wild side. He likes adventure. He likes getting outside, enjoying creation, like all that kind of stuff.
Pushing myself. Yeah.
Could definitely say that.
When you talk about wanting to make an impact like in the world, what do you mean by that?
Well,
I mean, because you kind of already have, right?
I just feel like in some ways I've been given a gift to share some type of message with the world, and I think it can be the gospel of Jesus, and it can also be something less religious than that, but just like a man that other people could look up to, hopefully, is part of who I hope to be as well.
Yeah. You talked a lot about faith, or they allowed the talk about faith, or showed that a lot of talk about faith in the pods. You didn't see as much after you left the pods. Was that still going on?
Yeah.
Were you able to? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think they just had a different storyline post pods that they wanted to show. I mean, there's a ton of things that were not showed in post pods that we did. Entire, filming days and events and people that she met of my friends and stuff that just were never even shown. Like, I mean, she met my sister through FaceTime, like that was never shown, and they actually said that she didn't. So it's just like, yeah,
wow, that's a really big omission.
There's a lot like the fact that I owned a house and a vehicle and wasn't a boy, the whole, like they wanted to make me look like a boy, so they showed what they wanted. Like,
okay, so then was that toilet with the flies?
That was me. That was me. It was bad. Yes, I owned that, but I'm just saying there was a, you know what I mean? Like, there's a reason they didn't show her place as well. It's like, because her place wasn't, like, they kind of want to make it look like she was the older, more mature, and I was the younger, less mature. But that wasn't really our dynamic. I think that was more so a little bit of a storyline they wanted to create. But anyways, I'm off of your original question now.
No, it's okay. It's about faith. But I mean,
the faith thing. Yeah. So faith was definitely a part. I mean, it wasn't like our everyday, like, but we definitely continued those conversations. We actually went to counseling together at a church and filmed it, and that was never shown.
Okay.
So we met with a pastor. Wow. And like I think they showed us praying together some, but I mean, we prayed together a lot. We were trying to cultivate faith in our relationship, but it was a messy relationship. So it was tough, but we were leaning on God as much as we could during that.
My mind right now is like that, like emoji that's like this, because I didn't get any of that watching. Jesse, did you?
No,
I didn't get any of that,
not at all,
like at all. In
they
fact,
definitely portray it as just kind of like, oh yeah, you're a Christian, I'm a Christian, cool. Like, let's go on about our lives and never have any other dialogue about it.
We had conversations about that, and that's what we actually talked about that. We're like, ain't no praying going on. After you left the pod, you just kind of, what happened with all that. But to hear this, I'm like, oh, there actually was a prayer life. There actually was that stuff. Yeah. I guess that probably wasn't going to be getting the ratings that they are wanting for entertainment.
They were asking us about it in interviews too. I mean, I remember my producer would be in interviews and she would ask us like, why? She was like, it seems like you guys, it's like a very softening thing when y'all pray together. Because she was like, I remember her saying that, because we would pray a lot of times and like, we were trying to work through things, and so like a lot of times when we prayed, it was kind of more of like a kind of asking God for help type of deal, and just like leaning into Him, and we would kind of like feel humble when we were praying. So you're like, man, like, is this the right thing? Like, are we trying to force this to work, or is this working, or do we need to get out of it? So they would ask us about it in interviews, but you're right. Now that I think about it, none of that was shown. Yeah. Because it's a lot of filming, very boiled down to a short show. They film like 10,000 hours, and then they make a 12-hour show.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
and it makes a lot of sense though too. I mean, but I can't excuse those omissions just because that's a huge like value point. And so they show people's values a lot. Like, for all intents and purposes, I'm not gonna, because this person is not here, but they showed like one of the males being really self-involved and self-focused, per se, right? And kind of showed that as like his value. They showed what's her name? What was the one who's married to Brennan? Alexa, and what she cared about, a lot of things, and it wasn't like materialistic, but she that certain lifestyle, and those are big things that actually kind of shape people. So I am a little bit disappointed to know that a lot of this like went on, because that is actually who people are, and it would have added a whole lot more context to it.
Totally.
So I don't understand that portrayal beyond maybe it just wasn't salacious enough.
Yeah. That's interesting now that you say that, and I think about it, because we really did. We filmed an hour or so, maybe an hour and a half with a pastor, like in like a small church, like pews and everything. It was like real, I don't go to a church like that, but it was just like very, it was like very real and raw. And like we talked to the pastor about like very serious things going on in our relationship, and it was all on camera.
All right, I gotta admit something then. I actually criticized that about you all, and I said to my friend, I was just like, not Jesse, but another one, I was like, see, this is why I don't really be fooling people when they start talking about, oh, I'm a Christian this, I'm a Christian that. That just went out the door whenever they got the opportunity, to, like connect and whatnot. And so to hear that it's this, I gotta apologize, even though you weren't privy to that conversation. And I shouldn't have been like as judgy, but it's something that like I've seen and like experienced before. Because I'm just like, everybody wants to always use Christianity as that, like as it's like a value signal, like you're I'm a Christian, so then I must be XYZ,
right? Instead of like a lifestyle,
right? And I wish that they would have shown that, because sounds like it's absolutely a lifestyle. And it's funny that the first question that we're talking to you about in your presentation goes back to faith. Like that wasn't prompted. So that's crazy to me that part was not shown. Has this experience impacted your faith?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's been tough, man. I just think, it's like, that's another one of the things is like, just feeling like maybe I wasn't good enough, like when you do something like that, it's very different. It's not a typical thing for a Christian to do, is a reality TV show, especially like in a relationship, like how mine went, no Christian wants to like hang that and be like, check this out, everybody, look what you know what I mean? So it's uncharted territory. It's definitely like, it's a challenge, but I don't, I'm not going to let that like stop me. I don't like, because I think so many Christians maybe were comfortable in a bubble, and it's kind of like afraid to do what I did. But in a lot of ways, I felt led to do it, and feel like God can still use it for good and is using it. And I'm growing through it. So it's affected my relationship with God, but like, it will only get stronger if I let it make it stronger, right? Like I can let this whole experience push me closer to Him, which is my goal through it. So
okay. So it has drawn you closer to God.
Initially, no, but I'm saying that's what I want it to be. I want to use this to walk closer with Him. But I think for a time during the show, I was going through so much with my family, like disapproving of the fact that I was on a show, sleeping with a girl before marriage, like that whole thing, putting that out there to the world, that like kind of just their feelings toward it like made me be like, it sucks to be a Christian sometimes when you're not living how all the Christians would want you to be living. And so you just feel this pressure of like man, like I feel like I'm just being judged by Christians. So it's like it almost pushed me away from God a little bit. But then when I step back and I'm like, wait a second, it's not about what anyone else thinks. That's when I'm like, God still loves me, and I just need Him regardless of what anyone thinks or judges about me. So that's where I'm letting it bring me back to Him, and I'm talking through all of this with my family, and we're resolving all of it. So it's like it's all just a process.
Yeah. It reminds me a little bit about your story, Essie, in that faith, like by and large, is something that you can't really see. You just have to kind of believe. But I also think that faith is revealed, and it's revealed through challenges and different circumstances.
100%, yeah. Like you're saying, it's a process for you still, right? Like something that happened to me almost 6 years ago, and I'm still in a process. Of how that's affecting my faith and my walk with God. So that's not to be discouraging. It's hopeful actually that difficult things will make your experience with God grow stronger or weaker.
Right.
And it's just taking it a day at a time, a step at a time, having the difficult conversations with family, with pastors, friends.
Yeah. And I think the like place for someone else who has faith is to look at you and not say, man, I can't believe Jesse isn't this way or isn't here. But understanding like, man, welcome to life.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, tell that to some of the comments.
To having a heart, to being a human, to going through relationships, to trying to figure it out.
And that you chose to put it on display for the world to see too.
Absolutely.
Like that's a choice you made to do that.
Absolutely,
yeah.
It's all about grace.
Yeah.
Giving people grace and understanding that like we are human. This is an actual real person. It's funny. We were talking prior to you getting here about how people sometimes forget. Well, I'm pretty sure now in public, people think that they know you, or they'll like approach you and think that they can just talk to you like we're just friends. Like, I have no idea who you are.
Yeah.
And and the same thing goes with like, like the negative comments. People will say stuff and I'm just like, hey, that's a real person on the other side of that Instagram screen. Like they're actually holding their phone. They may or may not see your comment, but that's a real person. And I think that we forget that. The benefit and the beauty of technology is that it does like connect us.
Yeah.
It entertains us. But I think there's that proximity issue that happens now behaviorally that we just forget that there are actually real people using these devices. That's a real person on that screen.
Yeah.
And it doesn't give you a license to treat them like a punching bag just because they're not here in front of you. But there'll be times when people will send me like an ugly comment and I don't respond, but then sometimes I may, and they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I had no idea that you would see this.
That's what they do. Yeah. It's like people need to understand that words hurt the same way when we read them, if not more, when they're stacking up and it's
one after another.
You start to believe it about yourself. But then, like you said,
it's the same thing.
so many times those people feel like they were kind of just doing it to do it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, man, that really hurt. And they're like, oh my gosh, you saw this? Wait, I actually am a fan.
Right.
And it's like, the heck? Like, why were you hating then? It's just, they were like, I don't know. It just felt like the thing to do. Yeah. So I know the internet is a rough place if you're getting hate.
Okay. So maybe this is a question for both of y'all you could answer, but do you think having influence and being in the public eye like y'all both are has made you more or less insecure as a human?
I'd say it probably is. I think initially it made me a little bit more insecure just because you have to wake up to the reality that people are looking at you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part where I was insecure, like, oh my gosh, like I find myself, and someone had to check me on this, like when people stare sometimes in the gym or in the grocery store, and I'll like do this. My friend's like, stop doing that because I'm just like, why are you staring? And I'm not picking up the fact that they may follow me. And sometimes people will come up and say, hey, I'm so sorry. And I was like, ooh, I'm so glad that I was not like a jerk because I saw you staring at me.
Yeah.
So I think that made me like more like insecure, but over time it makes you have to become resolute in what you believe and who you are because of that vitriol. Because if people are telling you like who you are and you're reading it, you got to be able to stand for something. I know my mom, you probably heard this growing up, you got to stand for something or you're going to fall for anything. She'd always say that about faith. And so I think over time I have to be more like secure, and I get stronger with that security by crafting what I want to share.
I would agree. I'd say, at least for me, because like this is all new and fresh to me, for sure. Like the initial experience was, I don't know if I'd call it insecurity, but whatever it was like an insecurity where you're just kind of like, I was almost ashamed of it. It was like when people would say like, oh, it's Cole, like, can I get a picture or something? I was kind of like, yeah. And like, I just wasn't like proud of what I had done. But now that I'm like seeing it for what it is, I'm working through, the lies or accusations and just kind of like owning who I am and like kind of like I don't know how you said it a second ago, but that's what you made me think of like, you got to own who you are. No one else can be you. Be proud of who you are regardless. It's like, today a few people came up or blah, blah, blah and saw me and said things. And now I'm able to kind of smile about it more because I'm enough removed from it now. It's been a few weeks and I've watched it a few times and I've talked to everyone who knows me that I'm settling down, that I'm like, wait a second, like, I can be proud of this. This can be good. And I can like love these people who are wanting a photo or saying something in public instead of me being worried about what do I look like? What are they thinking? Oh my gosh, what are they? It's just like, wait a second, like stop that. Like everyone who has seen me or said something has been nice in person.
Right.
Anyone who's hating on you is only doing it because it's not to your face.
Right.
It's like,
the proximity thing, like all over again. That's beautiful, man.
And it's like you guys both have said you want to have an impact on people ultimately.
Right.
Like, and it's what's happening. People are coming up to you and they're happy to see you. It's making their day.
Yeah.
It's not about people coming up and pointing out X, Y, and Z.
how are you putting boundaries in place around your own like
social media?
Well,
Or...
social media, your own personal life, just because I just imagine, people coming up asking for a photo, they also kind of think that they know you. For instance, just, anecdotally, I was in Central Market this past weekend with the chef, and we were doing all this stuff. And at the checkout, and the lady says, "Oh my God, like I follow you, yada yada yada. It's so good." And I was like, "Thank you so much, checking out." And she's like a couple registers over, so she's yelling over people. I had shared publicly that I was in a relationship last year in order for different reasons. I'm no longer with her.
Okay.
So she yells out, "And where is baby girl?" And it's been very clear that I have not shared anything.
In the middle of the store.
Yes. And I said, "Excuse me?" And she said, "You heard me." I said, "Where is baby girl?" Haven't seen her. And it just made me think, I'm just like, ma'am, well, put two and two together. Also, I don't even know your first name. Why would I want to unpack anything personal?
Yeah.
And you're just assuming that maybe she's just not at the store with you that day. That could also be a scenario.
Yeah.
Like,
there's just a lot. And I'm just like, well, why would you think that I would want to talk about my relationship stuff as I'm buying these bananas and
right.
for this recipe?
And to just like yell it out like that. That's not cool.
Yeah. I imagine that something that similar is happening with you.
I've had stuff, I've had just in an elevator and someone snapping a picture and don't realize their sound is on and they're like, "Oh crap!" Like it's just us, and it's like, and then they just like
loud.
wipe it on their shirt. Or, like, I'm finally able to like smile about it now though. It's like at first I hated it. I really wasn't. I didn't want to go to the gym. I didn't want to leave my house. I'd go to the grocery store to buy things, and I'd forget what I was like there to buy because I would just kind of be like hiding, like wanting to like get out as quick as possible. Funny. But now I'm like, I don't know. I'm getting used to it. I'm seeing it for what it is, and I'm like, just be you. So like, I don't know what boundaries I need to set yet. Like the other day, someone recognized it was me and was like, "Oh my God." And I was on the phone. I was just like, "1 sec," like I'm not going to run over there and get a picture. Like 1 sec, I'm doing something. So I'm just being myself with that, like just common sense kind of with it. So but
you still have
I
a job.
think
You still have to go back to normal daily life.
I'm just like the rest of you guys.
Right. And that's what I think that people like forget, that like, well, he is a regular guy. And it's great, what you were doing. Let me just say this. When you were talking about, being who you are, I have to say one of the best moments for me, even though it was a really sad moment for you, was at that wedding. I did have really strong feelings. I'm going to reserve those. But I loved how your friends immediately surrounded you and began to affirm you. I was like, those are some good guys. Because they're like, I don't know what she was just saying, but that's not our experience with you. That is not you. And they were just speaking into your life like that. And I'm like, when you were talking about who you are, I think a part of that is also making sure that you've got a strong circle around you, and it looks like you do.
Yeah, they didn't let me believe that for a minute.
Yeah, they were on it.
It was like, I mean, I owe so much of who I am to the men who I've been around growing up, who I've learned a lot of the things that I think and the way that I live from them. I could name them all, you know what I mean? There's a handful of guys that have just always been there for me, and I feel so blessed to have a group of friends like that. Because I know a lot of people go through friends and you lose it. And it's like, I've been really fortunate to have the same friends for a very long time. And so, they know me so well. And it was huge, man. And I didn't expect it. I was so like not even ready for it, which is like it really what broke me is like my friend Io just came up and gave me a hug, and he was my roommate in college. And he was like, I just remember him saying stuff like, like, like just, just immediately be like, nah, bro, like, don't even like, we don't even need to like say it's not so, just like, and it was so like hearing him say that, I was like, you're right. Like we lived together. You know me since I was this age. Like you've seen me in every season of life. Like when someone who is hurting very badly says hurtful things to you, don't let that sink in. Don't let that plant a seed and then go mess you up. It's not so worth it. And that's what they all told me. And it was awesome to have friends like them. It's amazing. Yeah.
It's powerful.
Yeah, they were pretty dope friends, man. I actually was cheering. That was the only part of that thing. I was like, that's what you do. I was like, those are some good dudes. Like immediately, just the symbolism of with everyone around, the different family, and then people clapping. It was almost like they just surrounded you to build like a fortress, and you could see them talking to you and being like, no, this is it. And it's important because I think that maybe if you were just to look at the narrative that people are crafting together, and like piecing together, it could be very easy to believe some of that stuff. I mean, like, man, maybe I am this way. And there are some parts that you've already admitted that, yeah, you know what? Those are big missteps, whatever. Those are the same missteps that we've all had. Mm-hmm. Like, to be quite honest with you, everyone said something silly. I remember you said some stuff and I was like, ooh, I said that when I was 25. And you just do. You're just like, ooh, yeah, you can. I wouldn't say that, again. But it's important, though, that even if you kind of forget, which we do sometimes, that like you've got people that that you trust to hold up a mirror and be like, this is what it is and this is what it's not.
They remind you of who you are. I've had other friends that I bring to hang out with that kind of core friend group, and I've heard it on multiple occasions. They go, man, you guys are intentional. And I never thought about it that way. And then when they would say it a couple times, it hit me. Like, that's what makes my friends so great, is they aren't afraid to, call me on my BS if I am being away. And they're also going to, do it on the other end, where it's like they're going to tell you when you're right and when you should stand in the truth or something. And so it's like, all friends can do that, is what I realized, but most friends, we're just like not intentional enough, because I think like everyone's got friends that sees the gold in them, but we don't ever tell each other it. And I love that about my friends. As I was on the phone last night kind of sharing some stuff, dealing with some stuff, and my buddy just took the time on the phone to just let me like share it all and then relate to it and be like, yeah, but here's how you can come out of that. I'm just so thankful that I have like strong people around me that will be that intentional with me.
Are you in therapy too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm seeing a therapist, a counselor. Yeah.
How has that been for you?
It's been really good. Just to like, what it's done is it's sparked things in me that I'm then like, I need to go talk to that person.
Okay.
That's been some of the biggest things that counseling is. That I'll be, because this is what we do, right? Is like we make something way bigger than it really is. So I'll be in therapy sharing about how, well, I'm so hurt and this is my problem and this is what's going on. And the whole time I'm talking, I'm like, I'm just talking about that person.
Right.
And so I'm just like, I'm going to go call them.
That's so good, Cole.
And it's like, you're not getting anything done talking behind someone's back. Even if you're talking about them in therapy, it's like at some point, you got to talk to them if you're ever going to take ground and fix that issue.
That's really solid advice, Cole.
Yeah.
Do you feel that some of your relationships have changed because of therapy? Like you're beginning to see things differently?
Yeah, they're going to get better. They're going to get better. Okay. Yeah, my relationships are going to get better because of therapy.
Yeah.
Because as you become healthier, everyone who you relate to becomes healthier and your relationships become healthier.
So I'm going to throw this out there then. You see the healthy relationships in your life, but you also can also see relationships that perhaps you should not be sewing into as much.
Absolutely.
Okay. Have you seen that too?
I do. I see them. I haven't yet cut them.
Yeah.
Because I guess I'm just now starting to see them. And but yes, I need to do that next.
No, well, okay, and like, that's not me just pointing stuff out. That's something that I just discovered. Once you get a good therapist that actually can walk you through stuff and validate your feelings, but then also help you to see things. I wasn't expecting this, and I went in for for a therapy session again, and I said, "Yeah, this is bad." She said, "Hey, you know what? I should have told you." Your view of yourself and certain relationships is also going to change, and so even some of the relationships that you have been investing in, you may not want to.
Wow.
Because you're realizing that they're not bringing something to you, and so it is a process. And me personally, I didn't just go and like cut people off. I don't think that was the answer for me. The answer was just to stop investing the energy there and invest it where it is coming back to me. There is an actual, like fold, like a harvest.
The depth of the relationship changes.
Yeah.
You stop sharing so much with someone that you know is going to either not hear it correctly or tell you just this is how you fix it and you're viewing it wrong. It's all about working through things and giving each other grace, like we talked about, so.
I can tell you guys a practical one that I've learned, because I've only done a couple sessions, but I've taken something away that's really stuck with me from it. And one of them is that she told me that some people think I'm unempathetic. And she said, you probably get that. I was like, I do get that from some people. They feel like I don't have empathy for them. But she was like, but you're actually hyper empathetic, but you'll put up walls because you don't want people to see that you care so much or feel everything the way you feel it. And so she goes, because of that, what you do is you're carrying a lot of people's energies around you that you shouldn't be carrying. And so she was like, so what you need to do is you need to say this and speak this and like kind of manifest this of like, I'm only responsible for Cole's energy today, not all these other people's energy. So I was doing that and it was kind of working. And then it hit me. The next step was, you need to clear the air with that person too. So that's where I took the next step. And I'm like, I need to tell them as well, like, hey, I know we need to fix these things because I'm carrying this stuff that like, you can feel between us. It's in the air between us. Like, we both know there's an elephant in the room, and I just want you to hear it from me that I don't have the ability to carry that elephant. I need to just say it to you, clear this so we can both go live free. Because you know, like anyone who's holding grudges or you just know that there's beef or that relationship's not what it should be, it's like it's affecting you. It's squishing you in life in some ways. Yeah.
That's good, such a powerful, realization that you just shared. I hope that people listening really, really get that.
Yeah, because that was free. You didn't have to pay for that therapy.
Yeah, you didn't have to pay for that one. Are you an empath?
I think so. I think that's what she was telling me.
That's what I am, and so it's very easy for me to always feel like really drained. And my biggest thing that people always say is like, I'm very guarded. And I'm guarded because I view the world through my emotions. That's the way that I live and feel. And so I'm always like, I gotta help out this person over here. I'm driving around with gift cards in my car to give out to homeless people if I see them, because I always feel bad. I'm like, oh man, I can't do that. Or you ask me for a favor, I'm like, okay, I can't say no. It's people pleasing too. And so I didn't get that until now I'm like 40, right? 41.
You're 41?
Yeah.
I thought you were like 33, man.
Oh, thanks, man. The black don't crack. I'm telling you. The black don't crack. A couple green juices a day and minding your own business.
And all that, man. Good food. I did not think you were in your 40s. That's wild.
Oh, yeah. So you have a much, better trajectory, I feel like, because you're getting this lesson earlier on, and I wish that that I would have gotten it. So kudos to you for doing the hard work, and I hope that you continue on that path of therapy, because it is beneficial. You just become a stronger, more in tune version of yourself.
Yeah, and for a while I kind of thought like, oh, I only need God. I think a lot of Christians were kind of like, well, I get my truth from here or there, and we kind of feel like the professional we don't need because we have our own faith and we've got our church or our friends or our small group. But it's like, wait a second, like you can get something from professional therapy that you can't get from those places because of what you'll talk about being different than it in the religious circles.
That's so good. Come on.
This was like, that is a monumental realization that people need to get, especially
coming from me. That's a big thing to say, because people who know me know I've kind of always been like, I'm good. Like, I've never been this way until I recently was just like, I'm broken.
Yeah.
Like, and I will not have healthy relationships if I don't start working on this, because I'm crazy. Like I need someone to help me navigate all this junk in life that we all go through.
Yeah.
That is so beautiful. I grew up in the type of church culture where it's like, well, you got to pray it away. You got to pray on this.
Right.
And it's like, and so it wasn't until therapy, I'm like, this is the answered prayer.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is the prayer that ends. But I've been trying to do, all right, let me just go ahead and pray it. And God's been like, you can just go and talk to this person over here and you can unpack some stuff. Because the reality is, too, the church is made up of people just like me, of broken people.
Yeah. Right.
So it's more like I should go and see an actual professional about that. If my car is broken or whatnot, I'm probably going to see a mechanic if I can't do it myself, right? If something else, if a doctor, if you've got cancer, you're probably going to go see a specialist like that. But when it comes to mental health stuff, especially in the faith community, it's always like,
it's viewed as a weakness. Like, oh, you're not relying on Jesus enough.
All this talk about therapy, and people recognizing you and you kind of coming to understand that more and more. How are you balancing being vulnerable now in public and being a public figure?
I don't have the answer to that yet, but you're like, kind of like what you were saying of your own story, how you've had to like learn what to and what not to put out.
Right.
I don't think I've learned it yet, to be honest. I'm like, I'm probably gonna have to figure that out now. But I have a radar for it. Like, I know every time I'm posting something, I am thinking like, okay, what is this saying? And like, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I haven't figured out that like line yet, I guess.
Okay. I was selfishly asking you because I wanted you to tell me how to do it too.
I mean, for me lately, I guess this is kind of my answer, is like I will skip multiple days of posting anything because I'll just not want to be on social media. That's one thing that I'm doing. Like, I just played basketball with my bros all Sunday and didn't look at my phone. And everyone was like, where's your content? Like, why aren't you posting TikToks? Like, we missed the Cole. Post something so we know you're okay. And I just was like, no. Okay. Like, I'm playing basketball with the boys. Like, so that's my boundary is like, I'm not going to spend too much time on social media if it's robbing away from what actually brings value to my life.
That's really good.
That is very healthy, and we're going to double click on that after the podcast.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. The final episode, when y'all are wrapping up on the couch, they asked this question about regret. Do you regret this experience truly now? And we're going to play this in its entirety so we don't have to chop it up, and you can just know that whatever you say, it's going to be just that.
Yeah. I think the answer is no, not in its entirety. I don't regret the whole thing. Okay. But to that moment that happened at the reunion, I said I regretted it because I truly do regret hurting someone if that's what occurred, right? It's like when I was getting that information, when I was hearing those things, I was like, then I wish I would have never done this. Mm-hmm. But knowing what I know now and seeing, like we said, what's done is done. So I might as well not regret it, right? And it's like, make the most of it, right? Like, I mean, keep moving forward. Let the past be in the past. That's my mindset now. So
I love that. That's good, you can tell, honestly, I'm pretty sure that was filmed maybe like months ago.
Month ago, the reunion, or a month and a half, maybe, yeah.
Okay. There's just been, I don't know, just the way that the Cole was talking like on that couch and throughout the season is a different Cole that we're having this meal with today. I can see a lot of growth.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And you seriously, you're saying things that like I wish that I would have gotten at your age. Mm-hmm. And I think it's beautiful because what you're also doing is you're mirroring a healthy relationship with you, a healthy relationship with social media. And not being afraid to work on your stuff. And that's a huge message, especially for men. Yeah. So I know that you're just have, the sky's the limit for what you want to do. And you talked about like wanting to make an impact. I can already tell you like right now, just with this conversation, you're already doing just that, man. Yes. What's next for you?
Doing a TV show with you.
Oh my God! From your lips to God's ears, to Jesse's camera.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah. Well, as far as like big picture, all that, I don't know what's next. But I mean, I'm focusing on the relationships and what matters most in life to me right now. But I mean, I've got things I do. I do real estate. I flip houses. I'm a real estate agent. I'm building a company that does wholesaling and stuff. So it's like, I'm busy in work and I've got my connections and relationships and partners that I'm cultivating. But outside of that, I don't know what's next. You got to figure it out day by day, I guess.
I love it.
So
I love it.
I'm actually asking myself that question every day, to be honest, Kevin. I'm just like, what is next? Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, that's a beautiful question to ask because it's a question of expectation. Mm-hmm. So I love that. Yeah. All right. So cheers to the next chapter.
Yeah.
Hold on.
A little bit more.
We need a little bit more.
Yeah, we need a little bit more of that Shibu.
I gotcha.
It is good. I took a sip while we were talking. I was like, man,
really good.
I felt it that time. Yeah. The first time I was just watching y'all to see if we were doing it all or not. And then the second time I enjoyed it. And I was like, whoa, that Japanese whiskey.
If we took the shot, Cole would have been like, oh no, Kevin's like 25 for sure.
I thought he was just going to throw the shot.
No. You could tell someone who's older, like, I can't, I may never recover. Cheers, man, to the next chapter.
Cheers, guys. Thank y'all for having me.
That's it for today's episode. Thank you for listening and watching. You can find me at OfficialFitManCook on TikTok and simply FitManCook on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Catch up on earlier episodes by visiting atthetabletalks.com or search At The Table wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, keep it healthful in your mind and your body. Peace.